I'd like to call to order the organizational meeting of the Mayfield Heights City Council of January 10th, 2022. Shanisha, may I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Balstria.
Present.
Mr. DeJohn.
Here.
Mr. Mano.
Here.
Mr. Monaco.
Here.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Here.
Mrs. Snyder.
Here.
Mrs. Teresi.
Here.
Can you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Our purpose of our meeting this evening, this organizational meeting, is to elect a council president pro tem, a representative to the Planning Commission, a representative to the Mayfield Union Cemetery, and any other appointments or comments that council has. So with that, do I have a... One second. What happened to my... I just lost it. You got it?
Oh, I gotta get it.
Do I have a nomination for council president?
I nominate Diane Snyder.
Do I have a second? Don, second. Do I have any other nominations? Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion to close those nominations?
Moved.
Moved by Mike, moved by Mrs. Teresi. Can I have a roll call on that nomination?
Mr. Balstria.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
That is 7 votes yes. Congratulations. I guess I should have asked you if you wanted the nomination.
I
for-
do. Thank you. Thank you for your vote of confidence in me. I appreciate it.
Do I have a nomination for council president pro tem?
I'll nominate Mrs. Teresi.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Nino? Do I have any other nominations? Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion to close the nominations and vote on that
Moved.
motion? Moved by Mr. Belstrade, second by Mr. Monaco. Roll call on that motion.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mr. Balstria.
Yes.
7 votes yes, congratulations. Do I have a nomination for a representative to the Planning Commission?
I'll nominate Mr. Balestria.
I'll second that.
Second by Mrs. Snyder. Do I have any other nominations? Do I have a motion to close those nominations and vote on the motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Monaco, Mrs. Sabetta. Roll call on that motion.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mr. Balstria.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
7 votes yes, congratulations.
Thank you.
Do I have a nomination for a representative to the Mayfield Union Cemetery?
I'll nominate myself. I'll take it.
I'll second her nomination.
Okay. Any other nominations? Do I have a motion to close those nominations and vote on that motion?
Move.
Moved by Mrs. Snyder, second by Mr. Belstrea. Roll call on that motion.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mr. Balstria.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Congratulations, 7 votes. Is there any other appointments or comments council would like to discuss this evening?
I nominate Mrs. Teresi for a seat on the BZA.
I'll take that into consideration. Okay. Since we have no more elections this evening, we've done our business. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Moved by Mrs. Snyder, seconded by Mrs. Teresi. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, we are adjourned.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's for 10.
Good evening. I am hereby calling to order the January 10th, 2022 meeting of the Committee of the Whole. May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Balestria.
Present.
Mr. DeJohn.
Here.
Mr. Mano.
Here.
Mr. Monaco.
Here.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Here?
Mrs. Snyder.
Here.
Mrs. Teresi.
Here.
Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's two. We got one more. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to discuss the update on the Aquatic Center. I'd like to let Mr. Trotta go ahead and begin your presentation. Thank you.
Thanks for having us this evening. It's nice to talk about pools and things with the weather out that we have. So it's, we're getting excited as a team to advance the project. And the kind of the quick facts on the project are we received preliminary city planning and zoning approval. So that was a good milestone for us relating to landscape, parking counts, and everything else that they look at, traffic circulation. We also received the fire department approval, so that was good as well. We met with the fire department and first responders and, really reviewed the plans with them ahead of time and then, of course, submitted. Right now, we're in the design development phase, which is the second phase where we get into more of the details. We were at a very schematic level, and now we're kind of digging down, rolling up our sleeves a little harder on the actual individual layouts of the pool deck and the aquatics and the program, of course. We are still looking into First Energy about the power lines and making sure that we should be in the next few weeks getting a response back that our building is adequately spaced apart from the power lines, which we fully expect. We're also advancing the acoustic design to just test the current site and then model out what it's going to be like after the building is there on the residents of Sunningdale. And we have to wait till the weather conditions are perfect for that. No wind, no snow. So hopefully we'll get that by February is our plan. We're also, the construction manager is bringing on board a pool contractor to start working with us in a design assist role to help us work through design development and construction documents, our pool design team. And so that's being bid out right now from the standpoint of bringing them on board to assist the team. We also are going to start working on the site demolition drawings and the building demolition plans for the two structures that are on the site, the community center and the toilet building for the baseball and that concession building. Right now, the project square foot is 33,201 square feet. We've gone a myriad of square footages testing and designing. We've been up to 36, we've been down to 28,000, and the right project is at 33,201. So we're working with that square footage of building and keeping the program as it always has been since I've been presenting to you. This is the site plan that got approval, preliminary approval from city planning, and it shows 160 parking spaces. So we really tried to maximize the parking, but we had to balance site retention, once again to make sure we find ways to save costs where we can, try not to have too much underground storage, trying to get some on site. So the balance number was about 160 parking spaces, plus the 131 or so across north on Marsol to include those into our parking counts. But this site plan was what was reviewed and was approved. However, this is the current site plan. The mayor and Sean Ward and others haven't seen this, but we're starting to work on the pool deck design, getting into those details, and you're seeing that we're getting some circular concepts with the paving patterns and kind of as it radiates out from the pools. So we're advancing that design as we speak. This week we continue to have meetings weekly, and we're going to be working on the service center site to the right of the parking lot. Actually, tomorrow we have a meeting here. So everything is kind of going well with the site plan. We did make some comments, or made some adjustments from landscape comments that we received back from city planning, and have made some adjustments there. This is the current floor plan. It's very similar to what you've seen before. This is what we're now taking. This was kind of a two-dimensional plan, so we're now taking it into our Revit software to three-dimensionalize the building. And to the right, you'll actually see that's the structural framing plan. So we're figuring out now where all the load-bearing walls are, where there's stud walls, columns, the roof slopes. We're figuring all those details out. That's just a snapshot of how we color code things and start looking at the slopes of the roofs and things like that. Close up, it's still the same program, covered canopy, entrance, vestibule, separates you out to the community center and to the basketball courts. Nothing has really changed in this plan since the last time. We've done some updates for some specific comments over the past, and those still stand true. The aquatics building, we actually pulled out, I think in this building, we pulled out the storage. The pool storage is going to be in a separate building that's more economic. It's about 1,000 square feet. So we pulled it out of the more expensive building. But this, once again, this plan remains current from what you've seen before. We have lifeguards and the first aid and concession. The next slide shows the concession. This is where we're starting to work out the food service equipment, relocation of equipment, supplemented by new equipment. In this plan, you have two concession windows. One is for the public to the top of the plan, and the one to the left faces the pool deck. And they'll share the equipment that's sort of in the middle and under counters, and then there's a storage area, and then there's the dishwash area and refrigerators to the bottom right. So we've been advancing the design with Trimark, and of course we welcome opportunities to continue to review our progress, but these are some of the latest plans we just received. The gymnasium, have spent a lot of time making sure we get the gymnasium the right size. We actually had the gymnasium up to about 800 square feet, and then almost down to 6,000 square feet. And we've settled, I can't read the number up there, but it's somewhere around 9,000 square feet. But we wanted to, next slide, Christopher, we wanted to make sure, and this is a complicated drawing showing all the basketball courts, but we have one main basketball court. We have two practice courts, so a divider can separate out to two practice courts for basketball. We also have two volleyball courts as well that can be going on at the same time, and 6 pickleball courts. So all of that is in that spaghetti diagram that you see there with all the lines. And this seems to be the optimum layout, that we can have some bleachers, we got clearances around, and as much flexibility as we can provide, but not being too large as well.
You having a beach there?
Bleachers. Hey, you know, this is the trendy term. We don't catch.
I don't remember that.
The beachers. That's me, I typed that, sorry. But we, Sean Ward is on board with the plan that we're showing up on the screen. And then the community rooms. Nothing has changed here except advancing the kitchen design. Christopher, next slide, and the, you know, doing this commercial-esque kitchen, and with the private storage room for Mayfield Heights storage products. That's separate if there's other vendors that come in to and caterers into the area. Thank you. And Council President Snyder, I did not forget that there is going to be a door right outside to get into the first community room from a comment that you suggested. So we're advancing that and like to present you the latest sometime soon.
Okay, thank you.
And then the pools, the aquatics. We looked at reducing the square footage, and we did some of the water, but ended up we're maybe 300 to 400 square feet less than what you've seen in the past. We wanted to maximize the water still. We have the giant slide, and we just reduced in the one activity pool, Pool B, we reduced the lanes a few inches, and that took out about 300 square feet of water. And this plan should still be familiar to you. I have a couple renderings coming up that shows the pool deck, how we're advancing it with sunshade. That was really important that we provide enough sunshade on the project. This is a rendition of the actual slide. Of course, colors and patterns, we can pick whatever we want, but this is from the manufacturer of the site-specific slide that we're working towards. It's a 40-foot high platform and it still has the 4 flumes that come down together, that sort of a racing slide with you and 3 buddies can go down it's the one that's blue and white checkered going down, and then there's 2 other flumes, the yellow and the green, that go into 2 separate pools. One of them kind of launches you off, 5 feet off the water into the pool. So that's going to be a lot of fun. This is the pool deck, some advancement looking at, once again, kind of this radial pattern. Now we're getting to the pool deck, into the design. And then, of course, looking at the sunshade, making sure we have plenty of sunshade out there for the patrons and the visitors. And of course, even in the zero depth pool, starting to show some tinsel structure. It's kind of the greenish color triangles that you see to make sure we have enough shade percentage at the shallow areas so that, the children can be kind of protected from the sun as much as possible. And you can see the yellow slide coming down into the deeper water pool on the bottom left. Up at the top, we have the playground. So we're still working with Sean Ward on the shape and development of that. And then to the left of the playground at the top, you see sort of a rectangular sunshade structure. It's going to look different than that a little bit, but that's for a picnic area and for the camp children to kind of put their bags and have a kind of a place to kind of, have as their base camp when they're at the pool. And then there's plenty of green grass area for people to sit as well on the left. This is another view looking south. And you can start to see to the left center, we have this sort of outdoor living room space right out of the community rooms, come right out into sort of a patio area with like a fire pit, that kind of thing. We're not that far with the development there, but we're starting to get the concepts included now into the plan. And this kind of shows a close-up of what that could look like, little lounge seating areas, and then some focal seating around a fire pit. Just some ideas that we're throwing out there, but we've designated that area. And it was important right out of the community rooms to be able to kind of see that and to come right out from, if you're breaking from a meeting or a wedding reception, and kind of maybe come out and take advantage of that space as well, to extend the usable square footage of the building. And this is a view looking out, if you're inside the building, looking out over that outdoor living space. You get the fire pit to the left, and then you see the giant slide in the distance and the pools and the sunshade structures. It's a very layered sort of approach to the view. And then from a entry standpoint, we have the gymnasium to the front left here, entrance canopy, classy entrance seen right through the building to the pool deck. And then to the right, we have the multi-purpose room. This is the aquatic entrance, just to the right of the canopy, the drop-off canopy coming in. We have a lot of curved forms to kind of represent water and waveform, and to represent, so the pool deck side of the building looks very similar to the front. So it has some continuity in the design. And the admission sort of window is there to the right. You have a gate that you go through. The multi-purpose room has glass windows you see right there to the left of the gentleman standing. And you go right through that portal, and you'll see the giant slide is centered right on that entrance. And then from the pool deck, this image is current, but it's really been the design we've been representing all along. A very sleek, low-profile facade, have these sort of wave forms that come out. And these 2, I guess, brick structures that you see are, I guess, the sort of the tan colored, that actually will be a metal panel that has a wood look to it. So we're trying to get some warmth as well to the deck. So you'll see some wood look form. It's not going to be wood, but it's going to be like a metal panel that has that, has the durability and has the look of wood. And so that was the quick summary of where we stand and the progress we're making.
Thank you. Does any member of council have any questions? Mr. DeJohn?
Will you be able to see the slide from the houses?
You will. Yes, you will. Some more than others, some not at all. It depends on the tree coverage that's there. We are providing a 6-foot-high fence, that's solid white fence, a vinyl fence, that will certainly block some views, but you're talking 40-foot-high slide, you're going to see up at it. And the neighbors are aware of that.
They're aware of that.
They are. We would like to go back to them at the right time with the community. We still, we wanted to first meet with you again, but we are about due in February to get in front of them again.
And if we study this a little bit longer till the next council meeting, is that going to be a problem?
Study what?
Studying this plan, because you're asking for approval of the preliminary plan tonight on the agenda, so just was wondering, is that a problem if we take another meeting to look at this?
But this is preliminary approval is what I assumed, so yes, that would be, that's what I thought, but Mayor?
Preliminary, we approve it, and then it goes back to planning again, so you have time to consider.
Thank you.
Is there something that we can address, or should we be?
No, I just wanted to study it a little bit longer.
There is more time, yes, absolutely.
We had more questions of Mrs. Tressi. Yeah.
Thank you. The last time you were here, we had 192 parking spaces. Today, we have 160. Where did we lose the 32 parking spaces?
We did more surface parking. We did more surface detention instead of putting it underground, which is much more expensive. So we have about 70% surface detention and 30% underground now, instead of 100% underground, where we had the 190 parking spaces. And we, went through more detailed design to do the layout and turning radiuses and things that are required by city planning and zoning, and that's where we stand at. There are places right now we could add more parking spaces, but then add more cost. So we're trying to balance all of that. And so 160 plus the parking that's across the street seemed to be enough from the standpoint of a mixed-use facility that, with the pool only open 3.5 months a year. And then we have that both across the way of Marsol and on-site for the community center events for the rest of the time.
Thank you.
Mr. Monaco? Mr. Monaco?
You stated at the very beginning that you had the approval from the Planning Commission. Planning Commission makes recommendation to council. If you come before council for approval, the reason why I'm asking, because I have some questions about the number of parking spaces here. So you have 4 occupancies here. You have Group A3, Group A4, A5, and Group B, which would be community and multi-purpose room, gymnasium. You have a pool, and then you have the deck and recreation department main facility. Can you break it down? How did you come up with 423 spaces?
Mr. Jameson? Sorry.
I reviewed all the approvals for buildings in city of Mayfield Heights, public buildings like this one. There was never any calculations provided, nor was it presented that way. Planning Commission approved the parking for every one of our facilities without any calculations.
Okay, I understand that, but you can't go to the Planning Commission and tell them that you have 423 spaces without justifying that you have 423 spaces. You have to justify that number. How did you come up with 423 spaces? That's my question to you.
Mr.
I'm not following that question. Okay.
Yeah, we calculated, it's a good question, and a complicated answer in a sense. We calculated from those, all the different occupancy groups, the A3, the A5, the A4, there's a table that says how many occupants per square foot. So from the building, from the gymnasium, we calculated the square footage of the gymnasium divided by 15 square feet per the code, and it tells you the number. We did that for all the different occupiable areas, the community rooms, once again, 15 square feet per person. And then the aquatic deck, we calculated it 3 different ways. There's working with Tom, there's one direction. With the state, there's another one. So we looked at that. It goes by pool deck square footage per occupant and water square footage per occupant. So we did all the calculations, and that's the number that we came up with. Now, the building's a little smaller, so it's going to be less than that. And then we took into account city planning has the ability to reduce the requirements of parking by, I think it was like 60% or the 40%, because it's a mixed-use facility where they're occupying it at different times. So through that calculation, with the parking on our side of 160 plus the 130 across the street, we met the requirement if city planning agreed to that formula.
Okay, I looked at it, section 118907, which gives the breakdown of all the parkings for different occupancies, and I don't come up with the same number. So if you can give me the figures, how do you come up with this? I really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah,
Thank you.
definitely.
Thank you.
Mr. Ward, could you come up for I
And
have a
they're on the,
question?
and they're on the cover of, we submitted them, it's on the cover of our drawings that went to city planning.
Don't actually have the numbers. You stated here
The
that
totals are there, correct.
for Group A3, is 4,480 square feet. You require one parking spaces for 100 square feet, but you don't have a number of parking spaces total to it, next to it. The same with the Group A. You got 6,800 square feet. You're required one parking space for 100 square feet, but you don't know what the total is. Now, there's a big question about the pool. Now, the pool, the body of water is 12,105 square feet and requires one parking spaces for 50 square feet of water. Now, the deck is 36,593 square feet. So if you calculate the 12,105 square feet plus the 36,500 square feet, I come up with an occupant load of over 1,000 just for this.
Yeah, so we don't take the building as its total square footage divided by a square footage. We take the occupiable different areas. Like I said, it's very complicated, but I have a spreadsheet that I can forward to you, and I can sit down personally with you and go through it. We're still working it out, the details, but yeah, it does come out to the numbers I've shared. And it's actually going to be a little bit less because the building has reduced its square footage since we submitted that.
Okay, I'll be interested in seeing that. Thank you.
Excellent.
Mr. Ward, I have a question for you. Do you know how many parking spaces we have over at the community center currently, and then also how many parking spaces we have at our pool, Dragon Pool, roughly? I wouldn't think you would have that, but that,
I looked this up. We talked about this about 3 or 4 months ago. I'm just trying to go off of memory. And I can't pull it out for you. But there's certainly more spaces now than there were currently. There currently will be more spaces than there are right now in his new plan. I think it was, well, I don't want to say because I don't want to be
Okay.
wrong. So I'll get that. I'll email that to you all.
okay, great, thank you. Mrs. Tressi?
Mr. Trotta, did we move the service building? Did we move it over or move the location of it a little bit?
The service building,
That's the,
go back to this, get to the site plan, and then we'll make sure
the white area on the side of parking.
that's currently where the community center is now.
Right.
We're demolishing that building.
Right.
And that's where the service center will be.
Okay.
No new building or anything, but just materials will be stored there with the fence in between and some evergreen landscape to be a buffer.
So, for workers to get to that area, are they going to come up that driveway that's to the east and go out that driveway, the
They
one that
will-
goes up the hill?
They will use the exit to the north here that you see that goes onto Marsol. They will utilize that as well as they'll, and we're meeting tomorrow, in fact, to go through that with them, but that opening, that apron out to Marsol is the plan to be utilized for the service center.
And it won't be a mess or look bad, will it, from the pool area? I mean, when you look
Not
over
from the
to
pool
that?
area, but it is, not from the pool area, you won't see it because there's a building in the way. But from, there'll be a gate in front of it, and it'll have dividers for, the different piles, and at times of the year, the leaf pile will be there, and that gets stacked pretty high, but it'll have, yeah, so we're gonna try to put mounding as much as we can to hide it, but you will see, they'll stack materials pretty high at times, and you'll see that.
And the recycle bins that are there on Marsal will be gone for
The
good?
recycle bins that are
That are there, like
there
currently?
now will remain. We did work the design so that they would remain on the site, accessible by the public right straight down in the parking lot, right to it. You know, we're really trying to clean up that, where the, you know, the service center now, how it looks.
That's why I'm asking these
It's not gonna
questions.
look like that. It's gonna, you know, we're gonna have new heavy-duty concrete paving, and it's gonna be, there's a circulation path through it, and it's gonna be all, you know, stacked as organized as it can be with the leaf trucks and other things arranged. But it is a service center, and it will have those pieces of equipment and those materials. It still will have those there. I would love it not to be there, but that's
I would
what
just
we-
love it to be neat and orderly, so.
I will
mean,
relay
because,
that
you know,
to-
when you're on the highway and you look, and you're going south on 271 and you look to the right, you have mounds of stone and dirt and piles of,
There'll be
stuff back there that
around the
looks awful.
perimeter of a drive aisle. It'll be fenced in. It'll be on new concrete, heavy-duty concrete. It'll look organized as much as you can organize those materials.
okay, thank you.
Mr. Monaco?
I have a question about the existing monument sign. That's not going to be removed or touched by this construction, is that correct?
Existing monument sign for the existing community room that's gonna get,
Correct.
that's gonna be demolished. I would imagine that would be removed, but there are certain elements of the building inside, and I think there's something on that sign that need to be preserved and relocated, but it needs to be evaluated. But no, we would not leave that there because that's gonna be the drive for the service center. And so,
So before you remove it, is this going to be operational for a while? I mean, is the sign going to be working while you do construction, or is this going to be gone as soon as you take the building down? Where is the power coming from? Is it being fed by the pole, or is the power is coming from the building?
for our new building,
For the sign.
oh, I don't know that answer, but it's fed from the poles there, I'm sure. But I'm sorry, what is your concern?
Well, I was concerned whether the sign is going to be working, you know, during the demolition and, you know, after
Oh, our digital
construction.
sign. Our digital sign, Nino?
Digital sign.
Digital sign.
No, I'm assuming until I hear otherwise that that's coming down. There's no,
Down?
yeah.
They're coming down?
Yeah, it's going I'm sorry. Like Chris stated, it's going to be right in the middle of the service area that we need to construct first so we can start the construction in the back. So that service area needs to be up and running so they can transition from the back of the fields to that area.
So it's coming down immediately and it's not going to be working?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Mano?
I was wondering, since we've got the trash pickup now, they do the recycles weekly instead of bi-weekly, do we really need that recycle center up there? Can we do away with that? The city's spending money on that. Basically, it's just for convenience. Most of the time, the people you see up there are contractors. The apartment complexes have their own trash services, so maybe we can do away with that and utilize that space, maybe even get a little more parking out of there if we can do away with that.
Madam President, if I could, we just got a lot of emails about how much the residents appreciate that recycling. So, I mean, that's up to,
How much does it cost the city for that? What do we pay for that
I
convenience?
could, yeah, well, I'd have to get you that figure. I can't tell you off the top of my head. But the residents do appreciate that. I mean, we got a lot of support for it.
Are there any, Mr. Balestria?
Yeah, Chris, in the concession stand plan, you have a vacant area next to the dry storage area. What was designated for that, or is that just going to be left up to choice for us?
No, every square footage has specific use. That is an electrical room.
Oh, the electrical room is going to be right there? Okay. And if I could have another follow-up. You mentioned an area for the campers for picnic type area. My question is, would there be picnic tables type
Yeah, that's the plan right now.
plan in the plan for that particular area
It's
under?
about a 25-foot wide by 40-foot long structure, and it may have 8 or more picnic tables in it.
Okay.
Plus landscape bermed lawn to also stage on as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. DeJohn?
Just a quick question. Why is there no basement in the facility? Is it cost? Is it because of the land there that we're building on? What is the reason for no
I
basement?
don't think, that we studied a lot doing a second level, and there wasn't a program for it. I think I would say a similar answer, that there's no program component for it. Plus, it is very expensive to go down. We have a clay soil. It's, an expense, but if there was certainly a program component or a need for a lower level, that's something that could be considered, but it wasn't from a cost standpoint. And the program, once again, if you're inquiring, what do you think would go down there? Storage, maybe, but then we don't want to do elevators, right? And, make it easy, because right now you have storage in the basement of the community center, and it's not great to have to go down there, get stuff. We're trying to create a building to the southwest, 1,000 square foot building that's kind of a pre-manufactured building, to have all the storage at grade. It would have the Christmas decorations, it would have pool equipment, it would have all the, lawn maintenance equipment in there, convenient at grade.
And we have a guarantee that once the footers start getting dug, that there's not going to be any problems. Is that correct?
A guarantee from whom? I'm not building the project?
From our engineer, I want to make sure that we don't have to put any
Mr. Gerson, can
any
you please-
reinforcement, or we have to dig the footers deeper. I don't want any surprises.
We have gone through the structural engineer, this is right where I think the next time I'll be able to, of course, we're not to have problems, right? We are studying the foundations. For the gymnasium, which is the tallest and heaviest structure, we have spread footings. So they're 6 foot wide, 3 feet deep, continuous on the two long sides of the gymnasium, because that's the bearing sides of the trusses. The two end sides have much narrower foundations. But there's a lot of concrete going in to make sure that doesn't happen, and with the soils, that's the recommendation of the geotechnical engineer that did the report, and we're following those recommendations. And they're all licensed professionals.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking is because I'm hearing that was a dump at one time. And I just want to make sure that we're building on this, that there's no problems.
We don't
It's going to cost us a lot of extra money.
Yeah, unless every project has unforeseen things that come up if you're digging, and like any process, we have a team to address it. But we have done, I think, 11 borings on the site, plus there were 6 previously done by GPD had borings. So we have a lot of information about every 50 feet of the conditions, and that's pretty good. And every one of our technical experts have looked at it, and we're moving forward with design. But we will share the next time. I'll follow up with you and validate where we stand with all of that.
All right, thank you.
Are there any further questions from council? Mrs. Tressi?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you, Madam Chairman. So, Mr. Trotta, I just want to ask if it's a possibility, if, you've heard the people from Mayfield Heights that, and I'm sure you've seen all this social media, everybody's loved the Giant Slide and Catalanos and Mayland and Locust Grove, and so people have a lot of memories of what Mayfield Heights has always been. So I would like to propose, along with my colleagues, if they like the idea, that we do a fundraiser where we sell engraved bricks. So people can put their family name and really have some legacy here. Is there a walkway that you can kind of careen off for us, where if we sell the bricks, I mean, normally it's a very popular fundraiser. They've done it at the Cleveland Indians, they've done it at Little Italy and the Social Settlement. They've just done it a couple of years ago at the stadium, Mayfield High School, East 9th Street Pier, which again, it's like history. I think families that love Mayfield Heights and there's, second and third generations living here, I think it's a great legacy. And if we could have a walkway, an area where we could do this, I know you're looking at the mayor, I'm watching your eyes roll.
No. Can you go to your rendering of the entrance? Yeah, I would suggest maybe one location is right at the Aquatics entrance, right when you're going through the portal
When you're
there.
yeah, that's what
you
I
know,
was thinking.
But organize them so they're sort of in, sort of like, a rectangular area. Maybe there's a couple before the fence, after that. Or, we talked about, I forget who brought it up, wanted to make sure we had a walking path. Maybe it was you, walking all around on the inside, but maybe we have some moments where those are located along this sort of trail. But it's the first time I heard that, and that's great. I think it's a great
I
idea.
think it's, I've done some research on it, and I would love it to be something that council does. And I think if we could get all 7 of us together and promote it, and the city could put it on their, Facebook, their community pages, and I think people that have moved away, and people that live here, and in memoriam, and I think our businesses, we have a lot of, huge corporate park.
Yeah,
I think it would be
personalize it.
a
It'd be really nice.
great idea. So I was wondering if we could maybe chat about where we could do it, or if you could figure out what would be best.
Maybe we'll make, for the next time, we'll make some suggestions, and
Perfect.
offline or whatever, we can submit to
Thanks.
you and
And I'll
others.
show you
and-
the sizes, different sizes of the brick, and, thank you. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
well, I think it has to be said that from a signage and wayfinding and branding of the building and naming and things like that, there's a lot of opportunities to bring stuff from the community center over here, but displayed in a new way, a progressive new way, not just take plaques and put them up on the walls, but repurpose them in more creative ways for a more creative building. And I think on the exterior positioning of where the logos are, things that, signage on facing the freeway, up on the gym, we need to study all of that, and I think that would be a part of it as well. And any corporate sponsors that you may get or donors over the years ahead, make sure we have opportunities for them.
Yeah, I think, I think it would be successful just knowing the people that have loved Mayfield Heights for so many years, that they'd like their legacy to continue, and with a new, project like this, I think it's a great place to do it.
Okay.
Thank you.
And keep the green space out in front ready, because I have an idea for that area too.
Okay.
Okay, I do have questions for you, but it's 7:10, so I'll address those. I can email you the questions, and we can
Please do.
maybe address them later. Okay? Thank you so much. At this time, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Balistreo, second by Mrs. Sabetta. The meeting is now adjourned. It is 7:10. Thank you. Welcome everyone to the January 11th, 2022 council meeting of the City of Mayfield Heights. I would like to wish everyone here a happy and healthy new year. May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Balstria.
Present.
Mr. DeJohn.
Here.
Mr. Mano.
Here.
Mr. Monaco.
Here.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Here.
Mrs. Snyder.
Here,
Mrs. Teresi.
Here.
please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next is the approval of the minutes from our Committee of the Whole meeting on December 13, 2021. I hope everyone has had time to read these minutes over. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Moved by Mrs. Teresi, second by Mrs. Sabetta. Are there any suggested changes or amendments or deletions to those minutes?
Madam Chair.
Mrs. Teresi.
Madam Chairman, on page 4, the third last paragraph, it's addressed as Mr. Teresi asked where the residents live. We just need to change it to
Okay.
Ms. Teresi. Since-
Mrs. Lloyd, if you could make that change. Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nay, I was absent from the meeting. These minutes have been approved as written. Next, we'll move to the approval of the minutes from the council meeting at December 13th, 2021, and I hope everyone has had time to read these minutes over. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as written?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Mano, second by Mr. Balestrea. Are there any suggested changes to these minutes? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nay. I was absent from the meeting. Abstain, I'm sorry. Does any member of council have any correspondence or announcements? Mr. DeJohn.
I have a letter from a resident. Dear Mayor DeSico and council members, Happy New Year to all. I hope you and your families had a blessed and safe holiday season. With COVID raging, I felt it best to provide these comments in writing rather than in person. I have written to each of you previously voicing my concerns about the merit and cost of the proposed Gates Mills Trail, but again encourage you to vote no on the Gates Mills Trail to nowhere. I drove the entire neighborhood over the last few days and for the life of me can't figure out why the people who are speaking out in favor of this trail would find this a game changer in their lives. Like many of us, they have plenty of sidewalks to walk. What makes the addition of a 3/4 mile loop any better than the loop that they already have? How many of us have closed loops or simply walk up and down our streets? This would be a complete misuse of city funds regardless of the in-kind amount of any state funding, provided funding. There are countless other projects that funds need to be spent on correcting, such as the horrible condition of Woodhawk Drive, to name only one. On Thursday, January 6th, in near zero wind chills, the maintenance department was once again, in brackets, for the 4th time that I can count since the fall, out of brackets, throwing cold patch into the crevices we used to call our street. I expect by the time this is read, snowplows activated for Friday's snowfall will have already ripped up this half-hearted attempt to properly address the problem. I would also like to know when a traffic count will be conducted on Woodhawk and why "this is your speed," in quotes, indicators can't be installed to make drivers aware of how fast they are cruising this street. This type of indicator can be found on the hill heading down into Gates Mills and makes you pump your brakes when you realize your speed. Spending money to obtain an accurate traffic count rather than guessing how many cars traverse Woodhawk Drive and slowing down speeders would be a much wiser spend of our taxpayers' dollars. This would give our city engineer a much clearer picture of what options he needed to support this spring, a full tear-out and replacement of this street. Thank you for allowing me to voice my concerns and opinions. This resident asked that our clerk of council read this because he didn't want to attend the meeting, but she had indicated that she couldn't do that because we now have open meetings. So that's why I'm reading it. Thank you.
Is there any other correspondence or announcements? I actually have several letters that were sent to me of people that could not be here this evening. I'll read the first one. It's, "Hi, my name is Heather Law. I live and pay taxes in Mayfield Heights, and my house backs up to Gates Mills Boulevard where the trail is proposed to be. I am unable to attend tonight's meeting, so I'd like my message to be read and entered into public record. I have 2 small children, 2 dogs, a husband, and we all love to get out in our neighborhood and walk. We are very limited as to where we can walk because the sidewalks in our neighborhood do not connect to the rest of Mayfield Heights. We have been very excited about the proposed trail since hearing about it. I am strongly in favor of building the trail along the median on Gates Mills Boulevard, along with crosswalks to provide a safe walking and biking path for my family. We are also excited to have footpath access to the new pool and parks. I think this would be such a wonderful addition to our community. I ask that City Council votes in favor of moving forward with the trail plan. Thank you. Heather Law on Fairhaven." This is from Mary Beth Serrano. "My name is Mary Beth Serrano. I vote and own my home and live at 6354 Ashdale Road. I am not able to attend the meeting on 110, but I would like my message to be read into public record. I am in favor of building a simple trail along the median on Gates Mills Boulevard, along with crosswalks to provide a safe walking path for my family. This will provide much-needed safety along Gates Mills Boulevard. There is no sidewalk. I don't feel safe having my children ride their bikes outside of our streets and within our small neighborhood. I often run along Gates Mills and trail and would provide a much safer route. This trail would provide access from my neighborhood to areas of towns, including the shopping district, the new aquatic center, and parks. This would promote and facilitate a healthier lifestyle, enabling us to walk or bike to these areas. I believe the green space improvements provided by the awarded grant will be a wonderful addition to our neighborhood. I ask City Council to please vote in favor of moving forward with the trail plan. Thank you for your time and consideration. I do hope our city makes these improvements. I love the trails along Shaker Boulevard and see many families enjoying what these trails offer. I would love to see this in our city." Mary Beth Serrano. This is a long one, so bear with me here. Hello, all. I hope everyone was able to enjoy the holidays and entering this new, safe, and healthy year. My name is Christopher DeJohn, and I reside at 6504 Gates Mills Boulevard. I wanted to email all of you in regard to the possible Gates Mills Boulevard walking trail project. Unfortunately, I am unable to attend the council meeting, and I wanted to be able to share my thoughts on this opportunity. I am in favor for the city to construct a walking path through the center strip of the boulevard. I think that this is a great opportunity to continue to update and beautify our city. I've been a resident on the boulevard for a better part of 35 years. I grew up at 6504 and am now raising my 3 boys there. When I was a child growing up on the boulevard, I always wanted a sidewalk to be able to walk or ride a bicycle on. It would have made my traveling to my friend's house and the surrounding areas much easier and safer. Riding a bicycle in the midst of 35-mile-per-hour traffic as a child/teen can be a little daunting. I was lucky enough that my neighbor across the street, Peggy Zimmer, would allow my brothers and me to pass through her yard so we could access Marshfield-Longridge neighborhood with greater ease. Now that I am a father, I still desire a safer option for my children to walk or ride their bikes. We walk our dog a lot as a family, and it's never fun trying to navigate the median when it is a swampy mess, and having to walk in the street is not an ideal option either. I was not a fan of the original idea of including pavilions, playgrounds, or public restrooms. I feel this was a bit too much considering the space restrictions. Our section of the median is nowhere as wide as Pepper Pike or Gates Mills. A simple paved path with updated vegetation and perhaps some benches would be tasteful. I do not want to discount some of the concerns of my fellow residents. I can understand and empathize in not wanting parking spaces and cut-throughs across the street from residents' homes or blinking crossing lights. Perhaps there are alternative options that can suit everyone. Maybe we could allow parking on the street. Maybe crosswalk lights that only trigger when someone is at the crosswalk or pushes a button can only be used when the residents nearby won't have to see lights very often, resulting in disastrous flooding in our basements within the last couple of years. I addressed council at a meeting in September of 2020 in regards to this. I would hope that any new water mitigation included in this project would only increase the efficiency of our current storm system and not exacerbate its current shortfalls. The Boulevard sewers are obviously very old, and I don't think they could handle an increase in water flow from such ponds if they drain directly into them. I do not want this project to increase the likelihood of my basement flooding. What assurances can the city provide that this path and potential drainage areas will not result in storm sewers being overwhelmed? In summation, I am in favor of a simple walking/biking trail. If any future plans to update or add to this path were to be undertaken, I would want these to be approved by City Council and Boulevard residents. I do not want this new project to overwhelm our current flawed sewer system. The Boulevard has always been a beautiful section of the city. Let's make sure that we stay true to its original beauty and only add minimal enhancements. I appreciate the opportunity to share my thoughts with you. You may share this message and my position at tomorrow's meeting. Regards, Christopher DeJohn on Gates Mills Boulevard. This is from the Ewings. Hello, our names are Sean and Sonia Ewing, and we live at 6458 Fairhaven Road, right behind Gates Mills Boulevard. We would love to see the plan for the trail to go forward. The Ewings. My name is Nicole Richmond. I live at 6556 Kingswood Drive, Mayfield Heights. I pay taxes and I vote. My husband Justin Richmond and I are in favor of this trail down Gates Mills Boulevard and look forward to hopefully using it in the future. Thank you so much, Nicole and Justin Richmond. And finally, I have one. Hello, my name is Christina Egan. I have grown up in the city. I vote and I own my own home, 6534 Long Ridge Road. I am unable to attend the meeting on 110 due to being a frontline healthcare worker, but I would like my message read into public record. I am in favor of building a simple trail along the median on Gates Mills Boulevard, along with crosswalks to provide a safe walking and biking path for my family. Currently, we walk Gates Mills Boulevard, and it is as if every car is aiming for you. This trail will be safe, as well it will provide access from my neighborhood to areas of town, including the shopping district, the aquatic center, and the parks. I believe the green space improvements provided by the awarded grant will be an amazing addition to our neighborhood, and I ask that City Council please vote in favor of moving forward with the trail plan. Thank you, Christina Egan on Long Ridge. So thank you for letting me read all of those from the residents over by Gates Mills Boulevard. Right. Next, we will move to reports of officers, starting with the mayor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Excuse me. Good evening, and thank you, everyone, for attending the meeting tonight. I do welcome this new year with great enthusiasm. I'm looking forward to seeing the Aquatic and Community Center project continue to develop and move forward, and we saw a great presentation this evening on where we're headed with that. It's encouraging to see some growth and new businesses opening up in the city. Park Place Technologies on Landerbrook Drive submitted plans to build out the entire lower level of their building, 35,000 square feet for training and conference rooms. So it's good to see that business thriving. Golden Gate Plaza will soon have a new business opening its doors. Floors, Floorz, is a national franchise company that markets all-inclusive flooring material. So you'll see that at Golden Gate. And get a lot of questions about Krispy Kreme. They have selected a general contractor and will soon begin building their new building. In Eastgate, there is an electric vehicle charging station operated by EVgo under construction, and they should be opening soon. It's nice to see that we can offer this option to our residents. And in the fire department, we extend our congratulations to Mike Bellion on his retirement. Mike served as a firefighter for the city for 33 years. So we wish Mike the best and thank him for his years of service. And lastly, I would like to withdraw Resolution 2021-94 from consideration tonight. This is the contract that, proposed contract with GPD to administer the Gates Mills project, because there were some concerns as to the cost, and I'm exploring different avenues on cost there. So I want to withdraw that this evening, and I will be back with another resolution and another proposal, though. So everyone here was here to talk about Gates Mills, please do so. It's still relevant. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mayor. Are there any questions for the mayor? Law Director, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no formal report, but I would like to note that at your places this evening was a copy of Resolution number 2022-4, which is the authorization to purchase 3 police vehicles. We're getting toward the end of the purchasing season, and the vehicles are slim to none. So the police chief would like this, if council will do so, add this to the agenda. That would be the purchase of 3 police vehicles, and the resolution and the quote should be at your places this evening. And if there's any questions, I don't see anybody from the police department, but either I or the mayor could answer it, or maybe Mrs. Fagan. And also, ordinance number 2022-1, which was submitted by Mr. DeJohn, I think that is should be considered by the police department, the service department, and so therefore I'd put it on first reading this evening and refer it to maybe the Public Works Committee once it's formed.
Thank you. Are there any, Mr. DeJohn?
Yeah, I was thinking about pulling that ordinance because there's several questions in it. It's just going to have to be amended anyway, so why don't we pull it and redo it and then submit it to all those departments.
So you'll withdraw your sponsorship of the...
Yeah, withdraw the ordinance right now until we come up with a final version of that.
Okay.
Okay. Are there any further questions for Mr. Murphy? Director of Finance, Mrs. Fagan.
Thank you. I have no formal report this evening.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mrs. Fagan? All right, now we will move to reports of committees, commissions, and boards, and since this is the first meeting of the year, I know the only 2 committees that have met is Planning and BZA, so those are the only 2 committees that I'll ask for reports from this evening. Also, with assignments going out by the next council meeting, if you can please send me a request as to what committees and boards that you might like to be on. I'll take them all into consideration. Thank you. So we will move to the Board of Zoning, or I'm sorry, Board of Zoning Appeals, Mrs. Sabetta.
Thank you, Madam President. The Board of Zoning did meet on December 14th, and we do have one item on the agenda. If the applicant is present, I would encourage him to address council during the public portion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Sabetta. And Planning Commission, Mr. Balistreo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Planning Commission did meet on December the 20th. Council was copied on the minutes. And as a result of that meeting, we have one resolution and one motion on the agenda this evening, and we can discuss it at that time.
Thank you, Mr. Balestrea. So typically, we would move to comments from the public, and there are a lot of people here this evening. So I'm going to ask council if we could move motion A to this part of the agenda so that we can move forward with the meeting and have more time. So is there a motion to move motion A to this portion of the meeting?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Teresi, second by Mr. Mano. Roll call on the motion to move this to the meeting at this
Miss-
point, the agenda.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestrea.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes?
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Motion A, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Motion to approve the preliminary site plan for a new 30,733 square foot, single-story building for the City of Mayfield Heights Aquatic and Community Center at 6306 Marsall Road.
Is there a motion to approve?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Mano, second by Mr. Balestrea. We'll move to discussion. Is there any other comments, discussion, questions for Mr. Trotta or Mr. Ward? Maybe I can ask my questions now if it's okay with you. I just have a few. I wanted to know if you came up with any natural lighting for the main community room yet?
We have included, and we just shared plans last week, we've included at the entrance to each of the 3 community rooms, we have floor to about 7-foot windows that are, we're still working on the width, that would convey lighting from the pool deck through the concourse into those meeting rooms. We also have 2 windows, clear story windows proposed for the, right now for the south side of the 2 large meeting rooms, and then on the east side for the smaller community room. So we have 4 clear story windows that we're starting to study and look at. So we have a total of 7 windows for natural light planned for the community rooms.
Okay. And then the blue slide, I'll just refer to the color. Does it have water or is it a dry slide?
It has water that pushes you, that you
To the
flow
very
on.
end.
And then then there's deeper water you go into when it runs out to the horizontal to slow you down so that you can get out.
Okay, because it shows like it's going on, on the picture, it looks like it's going on to the ground area.
Yeah, it has a run out of like 80 feet
Okay.
to slow you down and give you plenty of room to exit the farm.
Perfect, thank you. And then the other question I have was, what was the actual size of the playground? Is it comparable to Totland over in our main park?
That I don't know what with the new or the advanced pool deck design that we're working on, we now sort of have a footprint of the playground. We will be dimensioning that up and sharing that with Sean shortly. We're really trying to integrate it into the pool deck, and it has some irregular shape. We also walked the site for are there some trees that we can keep in it as well? So we're sort of at the beginning of that, but we will get more details within January here.
Perfect, thank you so much. Are there any further, Mr. DeJohn?
How long before you'll come back with a final site plan? How long do you think it'll take?
Right now, I think we're benchmarked for February, because we have to advance the site civil plan as sort of a fast-track process, so we'll be advancing the site plan pretty rapidly over the next month. I think we're almost there.
Thank you. Mrs. Tressi?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Trotta, what is I saw the steps that go up to the slide. What is the material that's going to be used for like the steps and those columns that we have holding the slide up? I'm just wondering like about maintenance,
They would be
in 5 years, 3 years.
Steel columns, pipe columns, or tube steel. And then the stairs, I don't know. I'd have to get back to you, but it's probably aluminum stairs and treads that are appropriate to walk on barefoot. But I can't stand here today and tell you exactly those details, but I will be prepared next time for that.
Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Mr. DeJohn?
Do we have to make that ADA compliant, that the stairs to get up there? Some way for handicapped people to get up there?
We don't.
We
Or
don't?
at least that's not the, it's not meant for that type of accessibility. We do have a family slide, a lower slide that could handle, smaller children and, I can't say that that's for handicap as well, but that's part of the zero depth pool is that you can go into it, that's kind of an area that could be enjoyed by someone with disabilities.
Do you have one of those lowering?
Yes, each of the pools have a lift that operates that they can lift a handicapped individual into the pool, into each of the pools.
Great, thank you. Are there any other questions? Mr. Monaco?
I just have a procedural question. Before we vote on this motion tonight, should council vote on a parking variance that was recommended by the planning commission? And I guess this question is for the law director.
There's no variance for parking that's before council this evening, so there's nothing to vote on.
But my question is, shouldn't it be though?
I'm not sure what you're asking there. There isn't, has that gone to Board of Zoning Appeals yet? No,
Yes, the planning commission approved the limited number of parking spaces permitted for this project. Now, the planning commission makes recommendation to council. The council grants the final approval. My question to you is, shouldn't they come to council to get the final approval on the parking before we vote on this motion tonight?
That's preliminary.
No, you've got two separate boards. You wait until the Board of Zoning Appeals considers the variance request, and then council would consider that decision by the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Correct, so we should vote on it before we vote on this motion.
No, you should vote on whether or not to accept the preliminary plan approval, which was given by the Planning Commission. That's what's before council.
Okay, the planning commission makes recommendation to council. The council makes the final approval.
Yes.
So once that the planning commission approves a variance on the parking, because that's what it is, it's kind of a variance of so many parking spaces. Once that they approve it, then they recommend that to council, and the applicant should come before council, and council make a final determination. That's the way I read the ordinance to be.
Mayor? Mayor?
Yeah, Madam Chair. So getting back to what Mr. Jameson was referring to earlier in the meeting, none of the parking spaces or parking counts have been done for any of the buildings in the city. So it's really up to the city to determine how many spaces they need and if that is acceptable. And there's no formulas for any of the city buildings that have been constructed in Mayfield Heights. None of those formulas that you were referring to have been used.
Applied.
So what it is the planning commission, along with level heads and our group that we got together is, do we have enough spaces? We have more than we have now. Is the parking across the street enough to go along with the parking next to the pool to suffice for what we need? And we came to the conclusion that yes. So we're not going to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals to get a variance. We don't need it because the city can determine the amount of parking spaces we need.
I think the planning commission determines if a variance needs to be granted. On your drawing here.
No, they do not.
Let me just finish. On the drawing that we have, it says parking reduction 1189.07, separate or combined use or facility. The planning commission may approve a reduction in the number of parking spaces required if it can be shown that the lesser number of spaces is appropriate and consistent with this regulation for the following reason. So the planning commission made a determination that the lesser number of spaces is approved. But again, the planning commission makes a recommendation to council. Council makes the final approval on this.
Correct.
So they need to come to council for the final approval.
This
So
is a
this is a
preliminary
preliminary.
approval. It's not a final approval. That's what's before council this evening.
But again, I still think that council needs to approve the parking variance that was granted by the planning commission before we can move forward with this. But
Planning Commission does not grant variances. And you know,
it did in this case.
no, it didn't. It does not say anywhere on there that we granted a variance. We approved of the parking spaces.
Well, it's a variance from the number that's required. You are required to have, according to the 430
All
some
right,
spaces.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes. You're allowed, you're required to have 423 spaces. You have now 293 spaces. So that is, I mean, you call it what you want, but it's a variance from the number required.
Mr. Murphy.
Planning Commission does not have the power to grant a variance. So if there is something there that indicates they granted a variance, they can't do it. They can't do something that they're not given the power to by council. So if they granted a variance, it's of no effect. And they didn't, because they can't. So what you're approving is the preliminary site plan for the, whatever was on the motion for the Aquatic and Community Center.
Okay, any further comments or discussion? Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. DeJohn,
Yes.
Mr. Monaco,
No.
Mrs. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Balstria,
Yes.
Mr. Mano,
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. This motion has been approved. Now, at this point, we're going to go back to our original agenda, and this will be comments from the public. So for those of you who are here tonight that want to talk, this is your time to speak, okay? We will now proceed to this portion. Pursuant to city code, each person will be allotted 5 minutes to speak, with a maximum of 30 minutes allotted for the entire public portion. If you are here in connection with an agenda item this evening, please address the council, state your name and your address, and you will be recognized, okay? It is now 8:48. Okay, I'm going to call on Greg Carlino to please approach the podium. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name
Thank
is
you.
Greg Carlino. I am a resident of 6442 Fairhaven Road, and I wanted to voice my support for the Gates Mills Trail. I also have a young family, like many of the people that rode in, and I would like them to be able to ride their bikes somewhere other than just around the block. And I know the opponents of the project have called it a trail to nowhere, but that strikes me as a little ironic, because I think that my neighborhood between Long Ridge and Fairhaven is the real road to nowhere, because it is hemmed in on both ends by Gates Mills Boulevard. And I'd just also like to point out that that is a primary transportation corridor, and as such, it should have it should be made available to other means of transportation other than just automobiles. Anyway, I'm not going to take the full 5 minutes. I will just make time for everyone else and just ask the council to vote to move forward on this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Carlino. Mr. Richard Bollinger, Gates Mills Boulevard.
Good evening, Richard Bollinger. My wife and I live at 6457 Gates Mills Boulevard. We own our home, we pay taxes, and we vote, and we love the idea of the trail because it's right in front of our house. We can walk it, we ride bicycles, walk the dogs. It'll be a nice addition to the area. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Michael Horvat.
Michael Horvat, 1177 Geesey Drive. You're going to hear a lot from everybody about how they're 50-year or 60-year or 30-year residents, et cetera. So it's going to be a common theme. I mentioned a few months back when we were discussing the pool project, how I felt that the city has been stagnated for several decades and that the pool project would have been a good idea. I don't know, do we have any runners here? If you guys have ever run, you know that we in Mayfield Heights don't have a lot of green space. We don't have a lot of continuous pathway where you're not avoiding every other street as you're crossing the street with cars coming and going. And I believe that this project, being a runner, would be a fantastic addition to our city. I know that there's talk of, undesirable elements or this or that, this thinking of, trying to bolster down our city and not let some faction of hoodlum or whatever come by and wreck the Gates Mills area. My argument is by improving our parks and improving amenities and things for the city, you're actually going to attract a better resident if there is such a thing, if that's what the concern is. For me, it's not, but I'm just using other people's words. I am a member of the Park and Rec Board. I'm very involved in talks with Sean and the Park and Rec Department as far as the things going on. And I believe that this would be a very huge step forward. Yes, we are improving our city with the pool, but it doesn't stop there. We can't just say, well, we got a new pool, so we're good for the next 30 years. We've done our job. No disrespect, but I would assume that the council was just like you had asked me when I was interviewing, your reasoning for joining the council is you want to do good things for the city. And like I said, I don't think it stops at the pool. We need to continue to improve our amenities, and my vote is for the trail project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Horvat. Mary Ann Ellen?
Good evening, council members. My name is Mary Ann Ellen. I live at 33389 Cedar Road in Mayfield Heights. I've lived in my house for 12 years. Prior to this, I also lived in Mayfield Heights on Golden Gate Boulevard, so I've been a Mayfield Heights resident for a very long time. I'm strongly in favor of this. I've spoken up before. I've written you emails, but I'm here to support my fellow neighbors, my community, that this trail project is an absolute necessity for us. So I hope you would vote in favor. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Michael Buffa?
Michael Buffa. I live at 6493 Gates Mills Boulevard, and I'm a second generation living on Gates Mills Boulevard. I grew up there, and when I moved back from Houston, I moved back onto Gates Mills Boulevard. And I just wanted to ask council to vote against this and just put an end to this trail concept. It really is a trail to nowhere. There's no demand for it. It doesn't connect to anything, and I am really concerned about safety. I'm concerned about maintenance, and I'm concerned about the cost. We've asked for ideas around what is the maintenance going to look like on this. We've gotten no information, no feedback, and everyone would support a simple trail, a simple path. But the problem here is that we know it's going to grow into other things. One of the things is that it's supposed to be handicapped accessible. I don't understand how this path in the middle of Gates Mills Boulevard in a serpentine is going to be handicapped accessible. How do you get into the path? You have to go in through one of the cut-throughs. If you're in a wheelchair, how do you get access? It's a detail that I don't think is minor, and again, it's never been addressed. I don't see how you're going to be maintaining it. On Mayfield Road, that fountain that was put in by the Goodwill store, that's all beat up. It's not being maintained. I don't want to see Gates Mills Boulevard look like Mayfield Road with things not being maintained. And you're also not thinking about how it's used currently. There are people who cross-country ski, so the path gets in the way of people who use it today for cross-country skiing. There's horses that use the path. So there's really been no research in how the area is used today. And this has just been proposed, and the mayor was quoted in the Sun Messenger as saying, we'll get the path in there and then we'll get the amenities after that. And that's what I think is the big concern, is that these amenities that no one wants are going to be coming bit by bit after this path gets built. So I encourage you to vote no. A number of my neighbors have COVID, so they couldn't be here tonight. And if you're not voting tonight, I'll certainly get them to write you letters if they can't come next time. But there's those of us who live on the boulevard, we don't want to see this in our front yards, and there's no need for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Buffa. Kathy Telbar? I'm sorry, I hope I'm saying all your names right.
Telban.
Telban, sorry.
That's okay. Good evening, I'm Kathy Telban, and I've lived at 6470 Gates Mills Boulevard for 18 years. I am not for the trail on Gates Mills, which I've said before. I sent all of you a very detailed document providing critical information about the grant itself, as well as the connectivity study. I don't know if you've had a chance to finally read it. I know I sent it the day of the last meeting. But I wanted to highlight a couple things. And one of the things I wanted to highlight that I put in there that was actually buried in a note, but very important, is that you were provided some inaccurate information at your last Council of the Whole. And that is that this grant was a 75-25 match. It is not. This grant could be a 75-25 match. However, when Mayfield Heights put in their application, they only asked for 62.5%. That means your cost share is 37.5. I think it's very important that you have accurate information. I also noticed that the budget that was included in with the grant did not include engineering cost, which actually is an allowable expense. That was a very missed opportunity. You will be voting on paying out of your 37.5% cost share is where your engineering costs will come from. So I know you're going to be voting at the next City Council meeting to approve these engineering costs. What you also need to understand is that since you have publicly agreed to change the scope of this grant to only include a trail, stormwater improvements, and one crosswalk, and landscaping, you must submit a change request to the Department of Natural Resources. On their website, the director has the full reason or designee to sole discretion to determine if they will even allow a change request. As far as I know, as of December 20th, when I spoke with the program manager of ODNR, you had not submitted a change request. What's important you need to understand is how the change request works. the program manager and their committee get back together and they review your original application. They make adjustments based on the changes in the change request. They then determine, based on your points, whether you still get the grant. You may not actually get that grant. Or if your points are lower and you meet the minimum, you may get lower. But you have to go through the change request process. And that takes 30 days for you to hear back from them after you submit a change request. I would recommend that you not approve any funds spent on engineering drawings until you know if you have lost the grant or not. ODNR also did not do a site visit due to the pandemic. If Mayfield Heights decides to move forward with the change request, a site visit to the area has been requested. Residents are concerned about safety, and they don't think it's a good site for a trail. Also, it's important to note that ODNR has heard from residents from Pepper Pike about their trails application. And a lot of their residents are not supporting their trail in their community. So when you look at Pepper Pike that may not also get their grant, you're not going to put sidewalks on Cedar. Gates Mills and Pepper Pike already have a bike path on their portion of the boulevard. The Woodhark shared use plan is actually dead. So actually the trail doesn't really connect to anything that you thought it was going to connect to. Now I understand you want to connect to the new pool on Marcel, so I did some homework on Noel Cemetery, who according to Sean Ward told me that you'll need an easement to be able to put something on their property. I don't think you're likely to get that, given what I learned. Mayfield Heights denied the cemetery a permit to put gas wells on its property to reduce its utility costs. That conflict led to the introduction of legislation in the Ohio legislature to strip localities and counties of their authority to regulate oil and gas wells. The Ohio Supreme Court updated the new state law in February, upheld the new state law in February 2015.
Excuse me, Mrs. Talbot. We have to, it's been 5 minutes. I just have to get council to.
I'll make that motion.
I have maybe 30 seconds.
Oh, that's
No,
okay.
we'll make a motion.
We're just going to go ahead and extend it for you.
Okay.
Motion by Mr. DeJohn, second by Mrs. Tressi. Thank you.
So I think it's unlikely that Noel, considering everything they went through to get their permit, or actually to be able to put wells on their property, is going to give you an easement. So really the trail and Gates Mill Boulevard really doesn't connect to anything. Maybe it's nice to have it just for the residents there, but that's not the purpose of this grant. Between now and the next city council meeting, I'd like each of you to ask yourself, does this trail make sense anymore? Is it really a good use of funds, or can funds be better spent for the benefit of all the residents? I'd like not only for you to come to the conclusion that you should not spend the city's money on an engineering drawing, and in the fact, propose a motion to withdraw from the grant, and not waste ODNRs to do a site visit here, to rescore your application, which they have to, because it's not a good use of state money either.
Thank you, Mrs. Talbot. Mrs. Maureen Reich?
Hello, Mayor, City Council, and staff. My name is Maureen Reich. I live at 6528 Long Ridge Road, and I am here again to speak in favor of the proposed trail along Gates Mills Boulevard. I've also, even despite the cold weather, being winter, people not being out too much, my home being on the corner of a street allows me to recognize a lot of neighbors as they pass by, and I've talked to a lot of people who wanted to express their approval of going forward with the trail as well. Many of them couldn't come tonight because of fears of COVID, schedules with children and work, and just the cold weather kept them home. but I do speak on behalf of several people in our neighborhood. I wanted to say that I thought many of the comments have been interesting tonight, and I wanted to summarize my understanding of where we have been and how we've gotten to this point. So I put a few notes in here to reiterate. From my understanding, back in 2016, this council unanimously approved the grant application for the trail. And in 2019, this council unanimously approved the trail study findings. In 2020, the city promoted a new income tax increase and promoted it as being needed to improve many amenities and features within the city, including the new pool, parks, community center, sidewalk repairs, and new trails and connectivity. The residents approved of that tax increase, including myself, and we are now paying more money into the coffers of the city, assuming that that was going to be spent on these amenities. In 2020, the city also put forth a new city logo, which is beautiful, and it promotes, and it was written up on social media as promoting our new vibrant Mayfield Heights, no longer stagnant, moving forward, and the graphics including trees and even a trail. In 2021, it appears we were awarded the grant money to build that trail along Gates Mills Boulevard. But now some council members, because of a few residents, are finding reasons and excuses why you do not want to build this trail. I think you've heard from a lot of residents today and over the last couple of months that we do want this trail. There are a lot of young families moving into our neighborhood. When I moved in 23 years ago, we were one of the younger families that moved in. And now I have watched 2 generations, in some cases, of new families. There are baby strollers and dog walkers everywhere in our neighborhood, and many of them would like to walk outside of our little 1-mile circle and be able to access other areas of town. So, I and other residents in our neighborhood are asking you to put aside petty arguments and excuses, and please fulfill your promises. We ask you to work with staff in a collaborative manner to build this much-needed improvement for the young families that call our neighborhood home. And I also wanted to finish with saying that this is probably the only chance we will have in our generation to get this project done. This is up to you, and I would like to see this council be progressive, future-thinking leaders that are looking towards the future of Mayfield Heights and looking at the young families in this room that would like to see more amenities and more features and more walkability. On a side note, the whole conversation about parking, maybe we won't need as many parking spaces if some of us will ride our bikes or walk over to the pool. So think about that. To finish up, I just want to say, why this trail? It is simple. We need connectivity from our neighborhood to recreation and shopping areas in the city. With the addition of more trees and vegetation and water management, this trail will provide beautification and improvements to the Gates Mills Boulevard area. A trail provides needed green space for dog walkers and families. This trail and crosswalks will provide safety for casual bike riders, dog walkers, and families. And I ask you to please move forward with the plans to build this great amenity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Reich. Alexis Steele.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and staff. My name is Alexis Steele. As you may know by now, I am a huge proponent of the Trails project. I would like to ask you all a few questions tonight, yes or no answers. Were you elected to your seat by a small select group of residents or by all residents of Mayfield Heights? Part of your job is to represent and speak for the people of Mayfield Heights as a whole, and not a select group, correct? All of our residents in our city are equal and pay the same percentage rate in taxes, whether you own a $1 million house or you live in an apartment at the Drake. We are all equal residents, and our voices should mean the same. Do you feel that it is important to move our city forward and make it a better place for current and future residents? Are you aware that the money from this specific grant cannot be used for anything other than this project? Are you aware that if we do not utilize this grant, it will have a huge negative impact on our city securing grants for other projects for years to come? By a show of hands, who on the council has friends, family, neighbors who will use this trail, or you yourself will use it? Mr. Dijon, thank you.
From Christopher, so.
Myself, my son, and a majority of Mayfield Heights residents are hoping that this trail goes into place and that your vote of yes shows us that all our voices matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexis. Ashley Moses.
Hi, I'm Ashley Moses, and I am at 6521 Longridge Road. You guys have heard from me before. I've emailed you before. I don't have anything formal written tonight because you all know how I feel about this. But to answer some points that were mentioned earlier, this trail is a game changer for the residents who reside on or near Gates Mills Boulevard. It safely connects us to the sidewalks, on Somme, and the rest of the city. So it's not a trail to nowhere. Even though the trail that we're proposing is wider than the sidewalks, we'll take what we can get. We just want to be able to get to the city safely, and we can't do that right now. So we understand that there's trying to move the trail to the other side of the road. We just want to be able to connect to the sidewalks. I mean, the last council meeting that I was at, to hear afterwards that it was absurd to think that a mom would want to walk her children in a stroller to the park would warrant them being arrested, or that you would think they would be arrested. I mean, that was just, I was very offended by that comment, and it really hurt to hear someone who represents us on council say that. So yeah, I feel like don't we deserve to be able to get to our parks safely? We're not asking for anything than a trail, just to get to the sidewalks. You guys wanted polls done by the Gates Mills Boulevard residents. We did that. The majority of Gates Mills Boulevard residents are in favor of this. I think the last count was like 31, 32 families. So you wanted to hear the majority. The majority has spoken. I also represent our Parks and Rec Commission, just like Mike Horvat does. And the majority of our Parks and Rec Commission is also in support of this, even though they don't all live in that area. We're all supporting change in our community and moving forward and being progressive. So I don't really have anything else to say. Thank you for your time, and I really hope that you move forward with this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Vanessa Meek.
Hello, good evening. My name's Vanessa Meek. I live at 6564 Kingswood Drive. I've lived there for a little over 5 years with my husband, and we have 3 children. We have a very small street. We love to walk on the street. I actually came with 2 of my other neighbors who are also supporting this trail project. We would love to be able to get off of our street, be able to use the trail a little bit more often. I will say that more than half of the residents on Kingswood Drive do want to see the trail. They love it. They walk our street all the time. They would love to be able to get off the street and use the trail as well. I have walked the trail before. I do it but it is not great. It's usually muddy, snowy. The terrain is not wonderful. So just to have a paved portion where we could walk would be wonderful, as well as the crosswalks to be able to use it safely. So I just want to say that we, majority of us on Kingswood Boulevard do promote this, and I hope that you vote for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanessa. Mr. Bill Bollinger?
Bill Bollinger, 5926 Edgewood. I haven't followed all the details on the trail, but I'm definitely supportive of it. I think it would be a great asset for hikers, walkers, runners, kids on bikes. I don't know why there's no sidewalks over there in the first place, but this would certainly be a safer way for people to transit that area. If one of their problems is it would bring more people into their neighborhood, I have no qualms if they come to Oakville Park in my neighborhood. I don't think anybody has any qualms if they go to the city pool and goes into that neighborhood. So, like someone else said, we should all be able to access recreational abilities, and I hope that the trail becomes a reality and it can be expanded in the future. And someone asked about safely getting over to it. It seems like it's a basic look both ways and cross the street and get to it. But I really think it would be a good asset for the city, and I hope you move forward with it. That's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Bollinger. Jeff Sutker?
My name is Jeff Sutker. I live at 6590 Gates Mills Boulevard. I spoke in front of you 2 weeks ago, so I'll be very brief tonight. There were a couple points made in the debate that followed our conversations then. The first was the concept that this was a trail to nowhere, and I know that's been pointed out several times as being wrong. If you can get to the end of Gates Mills Boulevard, by some, you can get to Marsall, you can get to Eastgate, you can get anywhere you want down Mayfield. But if you don't have the trail, you can't get to any of those places. The second point is that if that's a path to nowhere, then so are all of the sidewalks on Long Ridge, on Kingswood. Those streets don't go anyplace either. Let's tell the residents they don't have to pay for those anymore. We can just rip them out. They can have those nice long lawns like we have on Gates Mills Boulevard. The neighborhood will become more exclusive, and they won't be able to go anywhere either because the sidewalks don't go anywhere except right back. That was pointed out a couple times this evening. The second comment bothered me even more, and this is more general than the trail. Somebody, and I honestly do not remember who, suggested that we should wait and see what Pepper Pike does before we go ahead and build the trail. Now, I moved here in time to vote for a good number of you, though not all of you. And I don't remember in any of the campaign literature I ever saw that any of you suggested that you wanted to be a council person in this city so that you could be a follower. Waiting for Pepper Pike makes you followers, not leaders. Somebody here needs to go first. Somebody got the grant first. Somebody decided this was a good idea. It's now up to you guys to do it, not to sit here and wait. And when I heard that last week, that bothered me considerably, but public time was already over. So once more, I hope that you will, oh, by the way, anybody who wants to take a look at the shoes that I'm wearing, they're muddy, and I apologize for not changing them before coming, but that's what I get for walking on the median at Gates Mills. I want to thank you.
Thank you. All right. Lillian Levine and Stephen Levine.
I'm Lillian Levine. My husband Steve is here with me. We live at 6415 Gates Mills Boulevard. We've been there since 1996. I would have loved to have had a trail, a path down Gates Mills Boulevard. Now I think once we get it, it's too far for me to walk to Eastgate, but it would have been nice. I can see no downside to having this path. It's only positive. I look out the window and I see people walking in the street, and I'm waiting for somebody to get hit. And I have walked in the street, and you have to watch out. And it's totally unsafe. And walking down the middle of the median strip is hazardous as well. Not only do you get muddy shoes, but we've had members of our family turn ankles, and it's not a path. So I'm encouraging you to vote for this. It seems like only a plus for Mayfield Heights, and I think we'd all benefit from it.
Thank you.
And here comes Steve.
Mr. Levine?
I'm the other half of 6415 Gates Mills Boulevard. And I like it when I see people walking on the median strip now. I look forward to seeing more people. It doesn't distress me at all. I think it'd be very colorful and engaging. I'm very sensitive to aesthetic things, and I think this proposal will increase the aesthetic appeal of the city, in particular in our neighborhood. The aesthetics of a city as a whole is probably just the sum of a few very beautiful spots, and I think what you're trying to do is to increase the beauty and the functionality. And as representing myself as an elderly person, I look forward to joining the young families in walking the trail. Thank you. I hope to see you elderly people there too.
Thank you, Mr. Levine.
Wow.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Michael O'Leary? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I couldn't read the writing, sorry.
My name is Mike Ocrunt, and I live at 6384 Ashdale Road. I'm in favor of the Gates Mills path. Personally, selfishly, I think it's going to increase our property values because of the beautification of the neighborhood. It's that simple. It's just going to do it. I would like to mention that I spoke to two of my other neighbors today. One is Vince Gregoric, and the mayor may be familiar with that name since he had a proclamation this summer about the beautification of the neighborhood that Vince provides. He said that he would be in favor of this trail under one condition. The condition is that on Mondays, the town provide a cleaning service for that area, because he's found that in our neighborhood, Mondays is the day when it's the dirtiest. And he said on Mondays, if you could provide that service, he would be in favor of that. Marcia Gisser, also a longtime resident at 6384 Longridge Road, mentioned that she's a long-distance walker. She is 78 years old, and she likes to walk in the cemetery. But she says when she walks on the Gates Mills now, she is terrified of breaking her ankle because the ground is just too uneven to be able to walk on, especially when it's a little moist. So on their behalf and on my behalf, I hope that the council votes in favor of the pathway. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Mr. Jeremy King?
Good evening. My name is Jeremy King. I live at 2038 Hansford Road with my wife and two kids, soon to be a third. And I'm here again in support of this trail. You've heard it tonight and elsewhere that no one on Gates Mills is in support of this, but I hope that you've heard tonight clearly that's not true. There are many residents on Gates Mills Boulevard that are in support of this. You've heard that people are against the possibility of future amenities to this trail, and I'm glad that We even have a trail proposal, but I, for one, am in favor of more amenities. So that's also not true. My family loves walking. Hansford Road has a little loop. We walk it in about 8 minutes. My kids love to go out with us onto Psalm Center. We walk south down to Cedar Road, and then we have to stop and go back home. Sometimes we look both ways and cross the street and go over by Gilmore Academy, but then we have to go back home. Other times we go down, there's a side street in Gates Mills that we walk down. There was a construction site that my kids love to go walk to and look at. But again, there's no sidewalk there either. Then we turn around and go home. We would love to be able to go north to the roundabout and then turn onto Gates Mills Boulevard and have this beautiful trail for us to walk on. We would do that every day if we could. And the comment that this is a trail to nowhere, we go to North Chagrin Reservation all the time. Maybe you have too. A lot of those trails are trails to nowhere. You walk on them and then you have to turn around and come back. They're not all loops. So a trail that leads nowhere, even if that's not actually true with this one, a lot of trails lead nowhere. That's just a fun buzz phrase to comment. I'm excited to go on the trail and to meet new neighbors. I'm excited to meet Jeff. He seems like a great guy to meet on the trail. Earlier you read an email from Sean and Sonia Ewing and their 2 little kids. I can't wait, 'cause we're friends with them. I can't wait to be able to walk to their house and have them walk to our house. Right now we can't. So I'd encourage you to listen, keep listening to the voices of these residents. It's disappointing that we won't be hearing a vote on it tonight, but that just means there's more time for you to hear the positive feedback from the community. So thank you, and I encourage you to vote yes on this project.
Thank you, Mr. King. Mr. Boris Elam?
Hi, first I'd like to say Happy New Year to everybody.
Happy New Year.
My name is Boris Ellen. I live at 33389 Cedar Road with my wife and 2 kids. We walk on Gates Mills Boulevard all the time. Actually, we were there yesterday. It'd be really nice to actually have a trail and not look behind their back, hoping not to get hit by a car, is what I was facing yesterday with our flashlights and our gear that we have, the light up gear on our chests. We've been contacting Mayor DeSico for years. I'm sure you remember Marion's name and mine through emails for sidewalks or trails or really anything. So I am 100% for the trails, and I think it would be an addition to our community. It would actually make it a better community. So that our kids can actually ride their bikes and walk to the pool and parks that they haven't been able to do since we've moved there since 2009. We'd have to drive them every time because it's just too dangerous to walk with all the speeding traffic going by. So I hope you guys can vote yes, and I think you've heard enough positivity tonight. Most of the people here are for it. Again, we're 100% for it, and hopefully you can listen to the community and vote yes on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Mr. Jeremy Archer? Jerry. Can't read it.
I'm here for Mark, so I don't think I speak yet, do I?
You can change it up a little bit. You could definitely. Come on up.
Presentation, I'll wait.
Okay, all right, thank you. That's okay. All right, John. Okay, Mr. Frank Leone.
Change your mind, Frank?
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Here.
My name is Frank Leone, and I live at 6571 Gates Mills Boulevard. I've lived there for 27 years. I continue to encourage council to vote against the trail. Again, the data, facts, information submitted to the residents and the Ohio Department of Natural Resources does not support an urgent need for a trail. First and foremost, you all serve to protect the citizens of Mayfield. The trail does not provide safety. Did you know that ODNR has a grading system for grants? They provide much lower grades to fund a trail if there are nearby gas stations, roundabouts, and high traffic areas. Do you all know what revisions have been sent in writing to ODNR? My wife and I saw 4 wrong-way drivers trying to head west as we were heading on Gates Mills Boulevard east in the past 2 weeks. We were almost hit by one. Luckily, I was able to stop the one car. As I stated numerous times, an independent local traffic study by a certified professional firm should have been performed first. Safety first. That's why you were elected. The promises and engagement studies, which a majority of us had not received, had extremely low responses. You're talking 2% out of 20,000 residents. I understand what people are saying today. The numbers don't lie. That's how you run businesses. With supply, with inflation and supply chain issues, what's the real cost to taxpayers? Why aren't people asking these questions? Has the service department come up with an annual budget and a service plan to maintain this area all year long? I've lived there for 27 years. It's always struggled to maintain the area. As I mentioned in numerous letters to you, there's a gentleman that lives on Long Ridge. His name is Vince. I don't know his last name. He cleans up the boulevard for us. He deserves some type of community medal or support or acknowledgement. What are the police department's plans to patrol activities on this trail? How will this affect our property values? I don't have a trail in front of my house. People are telling me it's going to increase property values. There's a house that sold a few houses down for me for $670,000. You can buy my house now. There's no trail. The residents need full disclosure. There are no definitive answers on this project. The Woodhawk residents said no. All 70 plus support me in telling you to vote against this, and they're not here today. I have tons of emails, tons of support. Okay, there's no official plans to approve of this from Gates Mills Village or Pepper Pike. There is no connection. This trail has no connection. Please vote against it, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Leone. I think that was our last resident from the area for Gates Mills. We could move to the other two. Oh, I'm sorry, you can, oh, come on up. Sorry about that.
I don't do this ever, so.
Okay.
My name's Rick Leiser. I live at 6419 Gates Boulevard, right next to the Levines. And they have a beautiful yard. But anyways, I am in definite favor of the trail. I've heard a few people bring up some comments. This passionate man brought up a comment. I'd like to know some of the answers to those questions. I'm still in favor. And then she brings up whoever it was about the taxes have been paid for. We've struggling to, working towards this. So if the money's there, answer their questions. I'm in favor of this. I don't understand why it's not a trail to know. It's going to lead you everywhere we need to go. I hope that down the road Pepper Pike does it so that eventually I could walk with my grandkids or ride my bike down to even Green Road and Shaker all the way there and back, or walk if I want to. I'm not going to be worried about the young kids so much. I'm worried about me. I want to enjoy it. And I think it's a good opportunity for us to expand our ability to use our trail in the area. And there is no sidewalk, as someone else said. Why can't we just have one sidewalk down the middle of the trail? So thank you very much.
Thank you. This lady, come on up.
Good evening. My name is Nicolette Bolman. I live at 6572 Kingswood Drive. I grew up in that neighborhood my entire life. I lived on Fairhaven for 25 years, and now I'm on Kingswood. This is, to me, a no-brainer. I was so excited to hear about it. I thought I was waiting for construction to start for the last 2 years. And then someone told me it's being debated, and I was like, what? Why wouldn't anybody want this? So I'm guessing people that don't walk don't want it, but we're avid walkers. We walk every night, cold, 30-degree weather. We were walking this weekend in the cold, and I was telling my neighbors, wouldn't it be nice if we could just cross right over and be walking up and down that path? So we're so excited about it. And then someone mentioned Woodhawk residents are against it. I can name 3 residents right now. In fact, I had them write Diane emails, so you should probably be able to find those.
I have some, thank you.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm hoping you all consider it. We're really excited to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will go ahead and forward the council those emails from those residents. Okay. Is there anybody else that would like to be heard about the trail? Okay, thank you. We really appreciate all your comments tonight, pro and against. And we will take into those questions into consideration, maybe get some of those answers. We have some time now to try and get those answers to those people that need those questions. Okay? Mr. DeJohn?
Yes. Yes, thank you, Madam President. Since it's the first thing, first resolution on the agenda, which the mayor has pulled off, I do have some questions to ask right now. And some of the one of the residents
Mr.
brought up an
DeJohn,
interesting
is this
point.
the right time? We've-
Is it possible to discuss this?
I just have to go to council and ask.
I'd like to make a motion.
Let him.
It's public comment right now. There are other individuals who,
I thought the public session was over.
No, it's not. We have 2 more people.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine.
I'm so sorry. I thought it was over.
You're fine. We're for Gates Mills Boulevard. Now, we have 2 other people that are here with another item on the agenda that they'd like to
sorry.
discuss. No, you're fine. Okay. So I will turn to Mr. Mulchin.
John Mulchan, 1966 Reed's Court Trail, Westlake, Ohio. I'm not the slightest bit offended that Mr. DeJean tried to take my time. I'm here in connection with the lot consolidation, and if anybody has any questions, I gladly answer them.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. And Jerry Archer, Marks?
I haven't been to your council meeting before. When you get to my section, do I come up again, or is now my only opportunity to talk?
It's up to you. Yeah, whatever, whatever you would like
I'm
to
more
do.
than happy to hand out my stuff and talk about it now, or however
We
you
have
guys
5 minutes here, and then we can always extend that portion now, or you can talk as well later on when it comes before us.
want. I'll just take a minute now. Maybe
Okay,
break up
perfect. Thank you.
We could share.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Yeah, not far from that.
We'll get 2 more, if you need a couple more.
We're good. We're good, thank you. Oh,
Thank you.
So Mark's had previously had Carbones and a walk-up for their pharmacy on their building. What we didn't realize, and it's my fault, Jerry Archer with Archer Signs, we thought we could remove those because they no longer handle that bread or have the pharmacy, and they wanted to start adding, or just only add 2 of their typical imaging to the front. Then we found out that square footage didn't allow it. So I brought these examples of what we're doing at least the last 5 locations, and there's more. I could have brought more pictures. But here's all the last, or the most recent locations we've done where they're branding Marks, and then they have a brand for each type of product they have in the store. So our request is pretty simple. We had 2 smaller signs up there that said Carbones and Walk Up, and we'd like to replace that with fresh produce and cold cut counter. We aren't asking to do the typical 7 tags that we're doing everywhere else. We're just asking to be considered to replace those 2 that we removed. And again, we thought when we removed them, we could replace where within code. I made an assumption, I made a mistake, and now we're unbranded, and I'm trying to get branded again. That's all I have. Any questions for me?
When it comes before us this evening, we can bring you back up and answer the questions from council.
All right.
Thank
thanks.
you. Mr. DeJohn, did you want to go ahead and ask the questions that you
Yeah,
had?
I just wanted to find out if it's true that the engineering isn't in the total cost of this project, and also, if the, is it 62.5% versus 32.5%? Is that accurate? And then my last question is why is the engineering coming up now if these grants aren't fully approved? So those are just some questions I do have. And we don't have to answer them tonight, but definitely would like to see some answers down the road to these questions.
Mr. Murphy.
Yeah, I would suggest, since this particular resolution is being withdrawn, that those questions can be researched and provided answers to council.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeJohn. Okay. We will now close our public portion. It is 8:40. And move to the regular agenda. Starting with the resolutions, Resolution 2021-94 has been withdrawn. So we will move to 2022-01.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2022-01, a resolution approving a lot consolidation of parcel numbers 862-06-050, 862-06-071, 862-06-072, and 862-06-073, also known as 1413 Golden Gate Boulevard, so as to create one parcel for the development of Mayfield Self-Storage LLC. First reading.
Thank you. Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Mano, second by Mr. Balestra. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balstria.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes?
Mrs. Teresi.
Abstain.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Balestra, second by Mr. Mano. This was approved by the Planning Commission at the December meeting. It was a 4-0 vote in favor of this lot consolidation. Mayor, is there anything you would like to add? I know that Mr. Balestra wasn't at the meeting.
No, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, the plot was originally approved by Planning Commission and Council a while back.
Okay,
And so this is just consolidating those plats into one.
perfect, thank you.
I agree.
Okay. Good enough.
Sorry.
All right. Are there any questions from council? Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balstria.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Abstain.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
No.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. This resolution 2022-01 has been approved. Moving to resolution 2022-02. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2022-02, a resolution confirming the action of the Board of Zoning Appeals of the City of Mayfield Heights in denying to Michelle James Archer Sign Corporation on behalf of Marks and Cosmo Eastgate Limited, 6695 Eastgate Drive, a variance to install 198 square feet of W1 signage on the south elevation of the building. Cuyahoga County Permanent Parcel Number 862-29-018. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Balestra, second by Mr. Monaco. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestra.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes?
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Moved by Mr. Monaco, second by Mr. Mano. This was a 2-2 vote by the BZA. Mrs. Sabetta, would you like to add to this?
Thank you, Madam President. The taglines do not fit the ordinance. The signage should be to advertise a tenant, not product lines. No practical difficulty was shown, and the 2-2 vote resulted in a denial. There were 4 members present.
Is there any questions for the applicant or comments from council this time? Mr. Balestra.
Yeah, maybe Mrs. Sabetta can answer, because in the minutes, Mr. Medic had made a comment about Bob's Furniture, discount furniture store that has a tagline for mattresses. So has the city already established precedent with something like this in the city? And, or maybe,
Jameson.
I'm just curious why there was a split vote.
Yes, there's signs in Golden Gate and elsewhere where there's products on the signs. I don't understand why people would think that it's not approved. We've already established the fact that it's planning and council have approved those.
So we do have them at multiple places throughout the city?
We have them throughout Golden Gate. Look at Fresh Time Market, Bob's Furniture, and there's others. The latest one, Floor Z, is going to, was approved by Architecture Review Board, and it has other components to the sign that advertise the products. I mean, the product is part of their business, so that's all I can add. This variance was because collectively exceeded the 100 square feet that is required in Mayfield Road Corridor Design Manual. The variance wasn't even, didn't even mention he didn't even ask to have products on there. He just wants those signs as he's proposed.
Mr. Mano.
It's a product sign. So what happens if they drop the product line or change products? Did he change the sign to go along with that?
They have to come back for the sign. They have to come back to Architecture Review Board. That's the way the Mayfield Road Corridor Design Manual's set up.
Okay.
Mrs. Teresi.
No, I wanted to hear what Mrs. Sabetta had to say about the BZA meeting. That's what Mr. Balestra had asked her to speak, and I just wanted to see what she
Mrs. Sabetta.
had to say.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's clarify that Bob's Furniture came to the BZA for their main sign, not meeting the 100 square feet allowed by the design corridor. The only sign they were seeking a variance for was their front sign. Though the discussion did come up, and it's not in the minutes, which I don't have control of, but they did state that many of the furniture stores don't have mattresses. And mattresses is a word, it is a product, but it's not a tagline. It's not advertising. When we spoke concerning the other signs that are around. The design manual was not in place for a lot of them when they came up. Now, the next sign that he's speaking about also was the 100-foot square footage, and it was Guitar Center. And he has services, repairs, rentals, lessons, not products. According to the chair, that's,
You can, do you want to come back up to the podium? They can ask you some questions if you need to. Oh, you, I'm sorry.
yeah.
Who's coming?
I think we're nitpicking here about something that, you know, if you want to have business-friendly environment in this town, you know, if a business is going to invest the kind of money that they need to put a business in here, you at least should be able to put a sign up that says, okay, within the reasonable restrictions, that it meets the requirements of the city, but it also meets the requirements of the business in telling all of the people that are going to be going by that what the services are and what the products are that this particular business is going to have without having to have it in the name of the business.
Thank you.
I want to know what they have. Why am I going to go in there if I can't see what they're going to have before I waste my time?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other comments from council?
Madam Chair?
Mr. Monaco, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I just want to make everybody aware that the variance before us, it's for the square footage only, has nothing to do with the branding. So all we granting here tonight is a variance to allow an 198 square foot signage instead of the 100 foot. And again, all they're doing, they're replacing 2 existing signs with exactly the same size signage.
Thank you for clarifying. Okay, any other council comments or questions? Roll call. Oh, Mr.
Not what's happening here.
Mr.
The
Jameson.
sign is already up.
They are not replacing any signs. The signs that were there were removed. These are new signs.
Thank you.
Were they 100?
Oh, Mr. DeJohn.
Were they 198 square foot then? Were they larger than we permit?
Like many other businesses, they went in prior to the Mayfield Road corridor design. They went in under the old sign ordinance.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Mr. Monaco.
But the signs that were removed, whenever were removed, they were exactly the same size as the signs that are proposed now. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's what I'm
Okay.
asking.
We moved them in the summer.
Thank you.
We want to replace them.
Thank
same
you.
size.
Okay. Well, no further comments, correct? All right. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. DeJohn,
No.
Mr. Monaco,
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Balstria,
No.
Mr. Mano,
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta,
No,
Mrs. Snyder.
No. So in order to overturn the BZA, it needs a 5, and we only have 3 to 4, or 4 to 3. So it's,
No, but,
oh.
If I can clarify.
Clarify, because I don't know if we should have called. explained
okay,
it all.
this was not adopted, this resolution. So therefore, any member of council or the mayor can submit a resolution at the next meeting, either confirming once again, or denying once again, or modifying the decision of BZA in some way. And that would take 5. 30 days for what?
Okay.
60 days, you have
Can you
to
go
make a
ahead and
decision.
clarify exactly the vote so everybody knew what they were, because that was, yeah. Can you go ahead and clarify the vote so they know?
If you voted yes, you were voting to affirm the decision of the BZA to deny the variance request.
Right, and that qualifier should be said prior to a vote like this.
yes, I
Right.
just made a mistake.
If you voted
Correct.
no, then you were not voting to support the BZA, confirm the BZA decision.
And you need 5 to overturn the BZA.
I state that I voted incorrectly.
Can we call for another vote?
Sure. Yeah, we can
Okay.
add-
So we're going to redo the roll call on the motion to approve, as long as everybody understands exactly what Mr. Murphy just explained.
Yep.
So if you're voting in favor, that means the BZA, in favor, go ahead.
If you vote yes, you're voting to confirm the decision of the BZA denying the variance request. That's what the caption of the resolution says, to deny the variance request. If you vote no, you're voting to not confirm the BZA decision. It doesn't mean you're saying it should be this way or that way. You're just saying the BZA decision should not be confirmed.
All right, so can we have the roll call?
Mr. DeJohn,
No.
Mr. Monaco,
I'm going to vote right this time. No.
Mrs. Teresi,
Yes?
Mr. Balstria,
No.
Mr. Mano,
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
No. So we're 4-3.
Same
Same
thing.
thing.
Same-
Just want it
Just where we
right.
left.
Okay,
I want it right.
all right.
That was 4 noes.
4 noes.
4 noes
Okay,
and
so
3
this resolution has been defeated. Now, council or the mayor have to submit something by means of resolution at the next meeting for council's consideration, again, either confirming or denying or modifying. And if that's not done within 60 days, then the decision of the BZA is considered confirmed.
Thank you.
We'll be doing that.
Moving to Resolution 2022-03.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2022-03, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a memorandum of understanding on behalf of the city with the Cuyahoga Soil and Water Conservation District and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta, or Mrs. Tressi, second by Mrs. Sabetta. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mrs. Teresi,
Yes?
Mrs. Sabetta,
Yes.
Mr. Monaco,
Yes.
Mr. Mano,
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn,
Yes.
Mr. Balstria,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Balestrea, second by Mrs. Tressi. All members of council should have received the memorandum explaining the program between the City of Mayfield Heights and the Cuyahoga Soil and Water Conservation District. It will cost the city amount not to exceed $10,300 for a 12-month period. Does any member of council have any questions? Mr. Monaco?
Thank you, Madam President. I believe we already have some in our ordinance that allows for this. Section 943.05B, it says that the city shall be responsible for compliance. The city may consult with Cuyahoga County Soil and Water Conservation District. So is this something that's going to add to that, or is it something separate?
Mr. Murphy,
Yeah, you can.
Mayor.
You can do something.
Well, in order to have the agreement and have them help us, we need council to approve the resolution. Even though it states it in what you just read, this is a new contract, so to speak. So council has to approve it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? Okay. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Balstria,
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi,
Yes?
Mrs. Sabetta,
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco,
Yes.
Mr. Mano,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Resolution 2022-03 has been adopted. At this time, I would like to add 2022-4 to the agenda. Do I have a motion to add this to our tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Balestrea, second by Mrs. Tressi. Roll call on the to adding this to the agenda this evening?
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balstrea.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes?
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Item, resolution number 2022-4 has been added to our agenda. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2022-4, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Montrose Ford for the purchase of 3 Ford Police Explorer vehicles for use by the Mayfield Heights Police Department and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Belstrea, second by Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes?
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balstrea.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Mano, second by Mrs. Teresi. Discussion, since the law director put this in front of us this evening, and if you have questions that you would like to ask, this would be the time for you to do that. Mr. DeJohn.
Why didn't we go through the state purchasing for these vehicles?
Mr. Murphy.
Anyone?
If we go through the state purchasing, it takes away the need for us to bid out the vehicles and saves us a lot of time and paperwork. The state has already completed the bid, therefore the city doesn't need to. So as long as we find the dealership involved with that bid, or if we can find a bid lower, then we don't have to go through the formal bidding process. The reason this was added late was the police department received notification that the contract, the vehicles to fulfill the contract were in very short supply, and if we didn't get an order in shortly, we probably would not be able to get one for quite a while.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Fagan. Mr. Balestrea.
Yeah, Ms. Fagan, is this amount what we had budgeted in the capital budget, or is there going to be any additional cost that, I know sometimes we have to go back and add for the equipment to be retrofitted to the police vehicles, so.
You are absolutely correct. There usually is a second one for some
Right.
of the equipment. That is also in the budget. This 101, the 101,000 in this one is not the full, the amount in the budget.
So it's just for the vehicles at this point?
Correct. This is
Okay.
just through Montrose.
Okay. Thank you.
And in answer to the question I'm sure Mr. DeJohn will come up with also, is although they have not identified which vehicles yet, the vehicles with the highest mileage are the 3 that these will be replacing.
Thank you. Mrs. Teresi.
Mrs. Fagan, do we know what that additional amount could be? I mean, is it $10,000 a vehicle
It's,
from your past?
it was totally budgeted. They will not go over budget without us coming back.
And that number
I
is?
believe it is close to, it's under that 10,000 per vehicle for all the additional equipment they end up putting on the vehicles.
But it's in the budget that we
Yes,
approved?
it's absolutely in the budget, the vehicle and the equipping of it.
Perfect. Thank you. Any further questions? Okay. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balstrea.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Resolution 2022-04 has now been approved. We'll move to ordinances. We have 2022-01 on the agenda this evening, but I believe you would like to have that removed, withdrawn?
Yes, Madam President, I do want to remove that. Some of my colleagues brought to my attention, they had some good questions, so this ordinance does need some work. I don't believe it needs to go to committee, because once we rewrite it, I think it'll be a little bit clearer. But Madam President, if you want it to go to committee, I prefer it to come from you and not Mr. Murphy.
We can make
So-
that, yeah, we haven't made the new committees yet, but I will take it under consideration. We
Yeah.
can put it, I'll talk to Mr. Murphy and we can decide.
Okay,
How's that?
so I'll submit my corrections to Mr. Murphy. He can rewrite it, and then we'll go from there.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So we don't have any motions because we did it earlier. We're going to move to new business or comments from council. And is there any comments or new business from council? Mr. Monaco.
I'd just like to state that there was a funding and resource guidebook that was published by the County Planning Commission last month. It has about 75 pages of grants and resources available for community projects in Cuyahoga County. Most of them are, and I'm just going to mention some of them, ARP Community Challenge, Cross Guard Training Program, Hometown Grant that focuses on revitalizing community spaces, Paint Grant Program, Municipal Grant Program for projects that improve the community, Business Attraction Incentives, Community Reinvestment Program, tax exemption for property owner to renovate existing or construct new building. And then is one, oddly enough, for rivers, trails, and conservation assistance program. And then one that is very interesting, it's a land and water conservation fund that offers grant to help or improve state and local-owned parks and other outdoor recreation areas.
Did you have a copy of this?
I certainly do, and I sent it to Mr. Ward, and some member of council received it. Not all of them, but I will send them all to everybody.
Thank you. It's very helpful. Thank you.
Very helpful.
All right, Mr. DeJohn.
Thank you, Madam President. I've noticed on social media that residents are asking for a dog park. So I'm wondering if the Recreation Department can find some space. Maybe we can take out the skateboard park and put a dog park over there with turf, or find someplace in our current park system where we can have a dog park. There's a lot of residents with dogs in the city. Right now, all of our backyards are swamps, and there's no place for these dogs to play, so if we could have a turf park. I know Beechwood has a turf park where they take their dogs. It has artificial turf, and so if you can research that and get back to the council and let us know if that's a possibility, I'm sure Mrs. Fagan can help you find some money.
Or maybe there's a grant for it. Mr. Monaco.
I have the perfect spot on Gymnasium Boulevard.
And you need to walk ways to get to it. All right, is there any other comments or business? Thank you. All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Tressi, second by Mrs. Sabetta. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. We are now adjourned.